As I've been prepping for my Pemigewasett Wilderness winter trek, I kind of pulled out all my gear. A good place to start, I think, for the winter time is clothing and staying warm, regardless of whether you're backpacking or just hiking. First and foremost, with all my experience, I will say don't wear cotton in the White Mountains in the winter, or really at any point in time, because it's just not good to hike in. You'll sweat, it gets wet, it does not keep you warm when it's wet, and it does not dry easy. And the name of the game in winter is layering with synthetics or down. I have both for this trip coming up. I was kind of waiting to hear about the weather as I pulled my system together, and we're looking at day hiking like Franconia Ridge around 0 degrees, a little below, maybe -5 on the summits, with 30 to 40 mile an hour winds, putting the wind chill projected around -20 to -30. So, that being said, I'll start with some of my base layers. Didn't bring my boxers out, but they're synthetic. I'll have a couple different base layers. This is just EMS Techwick. You know, they're old. I've had them for a while, but you know, one's supposed to be a little warmer than the other. These are tighter to the skin, trapping the heat better. These are a little baggier, allowing a little more loft. When it gets colder at night, I have a synthetic insulated pair of pants. These were actually just 50 bucks on Amazon. They're designed for people to work in refrigerators. There's no venting on it. There's Mountain Hardwear and other big brand name stuff that makes down pants that can offer a little bit more venting. And sometimes they have like reinforcement on the knees and stuff. I'll say I wouldn't really hike in these unless it was like really cold at night because there's no venting, but it's just a good layer to put on and stay warm with less movement going on. And then my good pair of shell pants. I prefer bibs because when I'm out with a belt, hiking, carrying a heavy pack, I had insulated like ski pants that would tend to fall down. And the nice thing is, you know, for men or if, you know, for women, you got to go to the bathroom and you have a pair of bibs, you can stay warm and unzip the sides, pull down and do what you got to do without totally dropping trowel in very cold temperatures. You can lose body heat pretty quick that way. When the upper layer comes, again, I have synthetic, like polyester t-shirts. Again, these are just EMS Techwick. I've done a lot of hiking with them and they're pretty good for base layers, cheap and affordable. These are long sleeves. And then I also have relatively lightweight blend of wool, nylon, and polyester. Wool will keep you pretty warm when it's wet, it's just a little heavier. Synthetic insulation will also keep you warm when it's wet. Down will not. I get into some other layering system for my torso. I will be carrying a good hard shell that is windproof and waterproof. It offers a lot of ventilation, which is kind of key, I think. Because as you start moving and sweating, you know, thermoregulation is important in the wintertime. I'll be carrying a soft shell as well. Again, this offers a ton of ventilation. These two things are from Mammoth.
Why do you carry both a hard shell and a soft shell? What's the difference?
The hard shell is going to be better with if I were to experience any kind of rain. A hard shell is going to protect you better against wet conditions. Same thing if it's like really, really bad wind. I'm also bringing that soft shell because it offers a lot of ventilation. I can pretty much unzip this all the way from the waist up. So if I wanted to let my waist breathe a little bit, my armpit breathe a little bit. This offers a little bit better options of pockets up near my chest. So I'm going to be needing to keep my phone warm, my battery pack warm, and potentially some snacks. And so I'll be able to keep those things closer to my body and keeping them warm. And as I get colder or sitting around at night, I am bringing a down puffy. It's relatively thin. It's like a 650 fill by Mountain Hardwear. And then I also have a synthetic puffy by LL Bean, which I've been very impressed with. It's performed very well. With this layering system, I have a lot of options for staying warm, just sitting around, moving, venting. As far as keeping your feet warm, this season I started getting sock liners, which I prefer in the wintertime. I have a couple good pairs of like a wool blend sock to hike in. and I have a big rugged pair of socks I'll wear at night. One thing that I didn't used to do in my winter trips was kind of focus on making sure that I keep my feet dry. I try and keep them warm, but after you hike all day, your socks are wet. So the liners will help with multiple layers of wicking with your feet instead of just having one sock that gets wet. I do have a good pair of insulated mountaineering boots by Mammoth. These boots I love. They're very comfortable to hike in. They're insulated. It is a single layer boot. Temperature ratings are subjective, but when I was kind of researching, these kind of had a temperature 25 below Celsius, which is I think about 13 degrees Fahrenheit. But again, it's kind of subjective to the body, or the person and their body. I will hike in these, and then when I'm sitting around in camp, I have a pair of insulated booties. These are by 40 Below. These are synthetic. They do make down ones. If you're tromping around in the snow, you know, it's a tendency they could get wet, and synthetic will keep your feet warmer. These also have a little bit of a grip and protection against it here. I think they came with this foam insert to give it a little bit more insulation. I also bought these sheep wool liners to just make them a little more robust. Basically, when I get to camp, I'll put a dry set of socks on, and I'll get my feet in these guys and keep you nice and warm. So for some eye protection on my trip, when it's really sunny, I'll have a pair of sunglasses. And then for really windy, nasty cold and exposure, I will have a pair of goggles that are polarized. I'll also be carrying a balaclava for my face. I'll have a decent knitted hat, 2 thinner hats, just for sweating and layering. I'll have a good pair of mittens for sitting around when it's really cold. I prefer, with my hands getting as cold as they are, I bought a pair of these kind of, I call them like a lobster glove. They give me some better dexterity with the pointer fingers. These are heavy duty with good liners in there. And I will also be having a pair of glove liners. If I have to be around camp, just gives me better manual dexterity. I will be hiking with a pair of gaiters. I was on the fence whether I was going to bring these or not, but when I saw the wind and the weather, not only do they help protect from snow getting in your boot if you're in deep snow, they provide a good amount of warmth on your legs. And what they will also do is help protect my shell pants and my legs a little bit, because I will be using crampons on this trip. These are by Petzl. These are, you know, ice climbing crampons, but I'm going to be hitting Franconia Ridge, which is all above tree line. It can be really icy, it can be really windy. I've used micro spikes a lot. There's other brands, you know, there's Hill Sounds, which actually have a little bit more aggressive. They're a kind of an in-between micro spikes and these. But this is what I got for some real gnarly conditions. And I don't do ice climbing, but I've been on cliffs and things where it's much better to have these versus micro spikes, or maybe even the Hill Sounds. I will be bringing a pair of snowshoes. These are a pair of tubs. I've used them this season a little bit. Beautiful girlfriend Jenny has allowed me to try these out because my pair of MSRs, the cleats and everything got damaged, and I sent them in for repairs, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have them for this trip. What these don't have are heel raises. The pair that I have is made for more ascending mountains. The heel raises flips up and it kind of changes the plane that your legs are working on while you're going up steep things. The tubs also have this round tube. My MSRs have more of a serrated edge, which also assist in climbing, gives you better traction. I will be hiking with a pair of trekking poles. I've used these for a long time. I found that, especially in the winter, you know, my pack is going to be really heavy. Whenever you can use your arms in taking some of the load off your legs, especially over multiple days, I tend to use my trekking poles even in the summer with backpacking. You're using a different muscle group. It's taking the load off your legs, your knees. It's less impact and less fatigue on them. I will be carrying an ice axe for some of the more exposed terrain, and especially ascending. I found that it's a little bit better than poles because I can have one free hand. I can kind of move the axe up, and God forbid if I fall and start sliding down an ice ledge, I can self-arrest. This is the Gregory Denali Pro. It's a 95-liter pack. It's huge. It weighs 7 pounds. The trip I went on after Christmas, which was 3 nights, 4 days. I took some stuff that I'm not going to be taking on this trip, but I was carrying about 60 pounds, which for me, I'm about like 140, 145 pounds. So it starts to be a lot over a course of 4 days. But This pack has good suspension, which is part of the reason why it's so heavy, which you need with those kinds of weights and terrain. For sleeping, I'll start with my bag. This is a Goose Down rated -25, so it's about -13 Fahrenheit. This is by Rab. I really like this bag. It's kind of a less technical bag. It's a little bit more roomy than their more technical bags, which are more streamlined and more mummy bags. But I move around. I'm a side sleeper. I like the extra room. And I've been really happy with this bag this season. I carry 2 pads. I have a Z-Lite foam pad, and I cut the bottom part off. I'll use this as a sit pad on my trip. I have an inflatable air pad. This is a Thermarest Neo Air. Between the two of these put together, you're talking an R value, which represents how warm it keeps you. This pad alone is 6.9, I think, and this adds another 1.7, so it's around over 8 R value. So it's really robust in keeping the cold from coming in underneath you, which is very important, even if you have a really good sleeping bag. And then for a shelter, in here, I will be carrying my winter tent. It's a Nemo Tenshi. I'm not going to be carrying the vestibule with it, and it's about 3.5 pounds to my pack. So in the wintertime, it's really key for me, multiple overnights. I bought insulators from 40 Below, so I'll hike in with boiled water in these, and this will keep it nice and warm. And then throughout the trip, I will be melting snow to drink and cook with. If I get lucky enough to find some running water, I might be able to break ice, get it in there, and I have some water tablets, but I won't be carrying a filter. I'll have my winter stove. What this allows me to do is actually flip my fuel canister over so you can burn gas and liquid. The liquid burns hotter, which is good for melting snow. A couple things, standard, I'll have a map, hand sanitizer, just some basic hiking stuff, paracord, handkerchief. Wintertime, some hot hands is nice. I like Dermatone, protects your face against wind, give you some sunscreen. I have a shovel, little shovel in case, well, it's for digging a cat hole or, survival situations. I can dig a trench, whatnot. I do a first aid kit. I won't go too much into that. I'll have a rechargeable headlamp, a battery pack. I'll have my phone. I will also have a backup headlamp that will have some lithium ion batteries. Lithium ion's better for the winter, performs better in the cold. Insulated cup, kitchen stuff to eat with, toothbrush, whatever, toilet paper. And I will carry 2 pots. I have a bigger titanium kettle, melting snow. I generally don't carry this in the summer, it's just too big. I have a windscreen that I made out of Reflectix. Not only does it block wind, but around your system it helps hold the heat in. Your stove will be more efficient. My winter stove actually has a windscreen with it as well. Then I have a pot to eat out of and made an insulator out of Reflectix for it. Keeps the food hotter, and it also helps it rehydrate, keeping it warmer. The Pemigewasett Wilderness Loop is including West Bond and Galehead, it's like 32, 33 miles. And you start off in Lincoln Woods in the White Mountain National Forest, which is off of exit 32. You go down the Kangamangas Highway. You have the Pemigewasett Wilderness shown in the green area here in the center of the map. And the Pemigewasett Wilderness Loop hike scales Mount Flume, Mount Liberty, Little Haystack, Mount Lincoln, Mount Lafayette, Mount Garfield, Galehead, South Twin, Guyot, West Bond, Bond Cliff, and then back down out, and you can finish where you started at Lincoln Woods. It's just like 11,000 feet of elevation gain. In the wintertime, it's pretty hard going, especially leaving Lincoln Woods and getting up Mount Flume and Liberty. You're ascending pretty much the entire trip to Mount Lafayette. That's all elevation gain. And then it's down, up, and it's not too bad, a little bit of a ridge run, but I would tell people it's on the bucket list of backpacking. You get amazing views. Franconia Ridge, a lot of people know and love, and it's like a highway now. Really wonderful area. I've spent a lot of time there, and I'm looking forward to getting it done in the winter.
Is this your first time doing it in the winter?
Yep, first time in the winter. I've never traversed the entire loop in the winter time. I've hit a lot of the peaks, but to do a full loop will be my first time. It's definitely going to be tough.
What's the least amount of time you've ever done it?
I have day hiked the entire loop, including the side spurs. I was out there for 14 hours and 25 minutes, I believe it was.
Wow.
But yeah, it was the biggest hike I've ever done. It was a pretty epic day. Great day in October. But like I said, it's one of my favorite areas. So I'm looking forward to again trying to get it done in the winter.